if I had gotten $1 million, say in 2020,
right,
it would have been crazy. But I also, and this is no knock to any VC, because I think for a lot of our community, it's the first time that they're writing $1 million checks potentially, right? Yeah. But there was not an understanding of what scaling an e-commerce business would look like. So there were points where they were like, oh, we don't know if you need more cash right now because why are you running out? Whereas later stage VCs that I talked to later, they're like, why didn't they give you another $1 million? Oh my God, look at your, so you know what I mean? But we didn't understand that. And if you don't have investors, which is important, I think, to have investors that have a background in the type of business that you want to scale, so that they could tell you like, hey, you may think you're failing, but actually you got metrics better than some of these top other e-commerce businesses.
Exactly. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the More Rounds podcast. I'm Kim Lewis, CEO and co-founder of CurlMix. And today, you guys, we have one of my faves here, Tracey Pickett from Hairbrella, and also my girl.
Yes.
We got no prop drinks today. Okay, we drinking. So this podcast is not sponsored by Black Girl Magic, but we are drinking it though.
Yes, for sure.
Cheers. All right. So Tracey, tell me about Tracey. Tell me about Hairbrella. Tell me about all the things.
Well, my name is Tracey Pickett. I am the founder of Hairbrella, the rain hat reinvented. I basically invented a rain hat that solves the problem of women running around with bags on their heads. Native of Atlanta, lawyer by trade, super passionate about entrepreneurship. And Hairbrella, we've been going since 2016 and expanded from the rain hat to providing what I feel are the most innovative and elevated hair coverings for any situation from day to night.
Wonderful. Okay, so this podcast is about funding, Tracey.
Okay.
How did you? Well, Tracey didn't mention this, but Tracey has several patents, and she wrote them out herself. Like, first of all, I don't know the first thing about doing patents. I could barely do a trademark. So if you can't do a trademark, you should not be trying to write no patent. Okay, hire a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
But Tracey has several patents for Hairbrella, and you bootstrapped Hairbrella for a little while, right? How did you get that first money? So, like, I know you had like the eureka idea when you were working as an attorney, but then what?
Yeah, so I actually saved about $75K from bonuses from work. I actually kept a roommate most of the time that was working in corporate because I knew that I wanted to leave on my 5th anniversary. I'm like, I'm not going to practice for more than 5 years. So I just saved over time and kept my expenses really low. Like, I didn't take a lot of trips. You know, I didn't have the bags like most of my lawyer friends had, but I knew that
you had the bags. You know, you had 75 bags, right? You had the bags. Okay.
I just didn't spend them on the bags. You know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah, that's what I did. I saved that over the course. It took about 2.5 years to develop, invest in the patent, to do all the prototyping, and then finally launching the month before I, left my job. I said, well, here's the countdown. I got to go live in November, and I did that in 2016.
Okay, so when did you start working in law? What year?
2011.
2011. You do it for 5 years.
Yep.
You start saving the last 2 of the 5.
Yeah, I was saving the last 2 of the 5 to invest in the patent. I didn't know how much.
What were you making? Like,
I was making 138, I think, K.
Oh, but you saved a lot though.
Yeah.
75.
Well, the bonuses helped, so McKesson was doing very well back then. But yeah.
So you made 138 on top, and then the bonus.
Like a $30K bonus.
Oh, because you was around like 170.
Yeah.
That was base. So you want
base.
You want a mini pension? Like, you acted like you was out here sleeping in the airports and stuff. Nah, you was like, no, okay, that's cool though.
Just
75.
Pretty conservative. Yeah.
So how much did the first patent cost?
All in, it costs about $8,000 after all of the office actions, getting all the drawings, even having to revise it after we changed the product itself. Like, we took customer feedback and it kind of evolved. So then we needed to kind of do other versions of the patent to make sure that we protected each component. So about $8K all in.
And $8K, and that's because you wrote it, right?
Well, I had help. So I wrote the initial provisional patent. I got the drawings done on my own. I kind of told them how I wanted my claims to go. They looked at what was on the market already, what was already patented, and helped me kind of craft around that. So the final product, of course, came from the engineers, but I did that initial work to be able to get it in there.
So interesting. So did you ever consider just licensing the patent?
I did. In fact, I even contacted like Totes and some of the other manufacturers. They didn't. I got the feeling they didn't think hair protection was a big deal. In fact, some of the most popular ponchos that you see on the market now aren't even waterproof, let alone kind of protecting from humidity. So I realized in the headwear market in general, no one who actually used the products was making them. Right?
Okay.
They were afterthoughts, and they were made in the most cheap version possible. If you think about your shower cap, your typical shower cap, your typical bonnet, your typical even rain hat with the plastic that you tie under your head, under your chin, that was all like the innovation that went into that for years. So nobody was thinking about it and they didn't care. And so, one thing you think about is like, well, if it hasn't been done, maybe there isn't a market for it. But I did have a conviction. I'm like, well, we're the first generation that could have made something for our hair, or we could have made something that protected our hair. So perhaps this just is one solution that hasn't come to market because we didn't have the access to do it ourselves and our counterparts weren't thinking about it. So
gotcha. Okay, so you save the $75K for the business.
Yep.
Some of it $8K goes toward the patent, and then you launch November
20th on my birthday. 2016 was when we launched.
Oh wow. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Was this money spent by the time you launched,
Oh,
or
yes.
it was gone?
Oh, it was gone.
Were you still working? Oh no, you left.
I left October 28th, so a month before, leading up to the launch. I had spent pretty much all of it for the patent and all the production. I spent the last like $12K on actually getting the first, at 250 units to sell. So that was like, I need to sell through these. And I was going to get feedback on those. So I did a Kickstarter campaign. I think the total was like $16K that we raised. Okay. But at that point, I was spending almost $30 per unit. So I actually was not making any money off of that. So I immediately went into consulting. Like I was doing people's trademarks. My former boss, she was like, hey, how's it going? I was like, good, but like, I don't have a lot of money. She was like, well, come, you can work on your own schedule if you want to just help us finish a project that you were working on when you left. So I had to supplement my income for a good 2 years before I was able to replace it.
So your income went from what, 170 to like
4,000 a month.
So you went from
piecing it together,
170,000 a year to about 48,000 a year in annual salary.
Yep.
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that.
But you still here? And you didn't lose your house, so you good.
Yeah, my credit's still all right. You know,
you got good credit. Now that's rare.
Rare. It went down.
Oh, okay.
But we recovered.
Talk about it.
Meaning, though, I was able to like, and this is what I was talking about with the roommates. Like, I kept a roommate for a while. My sister lived with me. She helped me out. So I was really living conservatively. Now, like I had a house that I bought. Thankfully, I was able to leverage that house. So that was another piece of the being able to have some income or some savings to the side that I could pull on in a HELOC that I got. Yeah. So that was
What's
helpful.
A HELOC?
Home equity line of credit. So basically borrowing on the equity from your home.
Okay.
So that in a line of credit kind of format where you can pull on it as you need it. So if my contract stuff didn't work for the month and I needed an extra $2K, I had that line of credit that I could pull on.
Okay. So can anybody just get a HELOC? Like what is?
You've got to have a home that you got where you have some equity available. So my home was a miracle. I walked in with $100K in equity. I believe that was just like God saying, you're going to need this. You don't know it yet, but...
So what if you, but say for example, I just bought a house, it's $200,000.
Yeah.
Basically you're saying if I've lived in it for maybe 5 years, it probably has some equity on it. Maybe it grew $25K or $50K. Yeah. And you're saying I can borrow the equity on that. Gotcha. Yep. Do you have like a high interest on that, or no, it's the same interest rate as your house?
It's usually around the same as your house, depending on just all the credit factors. But yeah, so it's like a second mortgage on your home. You have a term to pay it off. And then the premise is you might sell your house before that's even done, so you kind of get the equity early as if you had sold it. So you kind of get access to that liquidity.
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
I love this. This is like, I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, so, and if you're going to buy a house, I would say buy a house before you quit your job. For anyone out there thinking about it, like doing that after the fact would have been very difficult. I wouldn't have had access like that.
Look, do you know, I was trying to buy something. And they was like, oh, well, you own the business. We need to see that. I was like, wait a minute. If I was just a W-2 employee, I'm a W-2 at the company. Just look at my W-2. But you know what it was?
It's so different.
And I shouldn't have said that I was self-employed.
Oh, that's the kicker.
If they ask you, just no, baby, I'm W-2.
Right. Because they discriminate on a whole nother level. You can make all kinds of money, but they're like, but you're a business. What was the profit? What they look into all that. They judge that before they even judge what you make consistently over the course of however many years. So it's much tougher.
So we got the $75K. We launched. We got the HELOC. How much did you get out of that?
125.
Oh, you got a lot out of that. Oh, that's real good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart. Now
I
I'm thinking
I
I'm
really feel like I was set up like I needed all of those things because honestly, without them, I don't know. In those early stages, you think the business is going to pay you, even if it's picking up in sales, you have to reinvest in the inventory. You got to reinvest in getting people to do some of the things to take things off your plate. So it takes a while to replace your own income, for sure.
You know, I'm talking to all these black founders, and most of us are such hustlers that like we just didn't get somebody writing us a check off of like a napkin idea. Like we had to save, crowdfund, do all the things to come across $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever.
Absolutely.
So by the time, basically around launch, you had about $200,000 in capital.
Well, I had access to the 125. I had spent the 75.
I mean, you know, it happens.
Yes.
It'd be like that. It'd be like that.
Yeah.
All right. So at what point did you realize I need to raise some money?
Yeah, so after we did the Kickstarter, got folks using it, they gave us all these notes back, which was great. I need to go back in product development. And then I found out that what we were using in the fabric was actually from a jobber. So that means like it's a fabric store or a upholstery store that has fabric from somewhere in the world, but they don't know where it came from. And they ran out. And I was like, so can you tell me what kind that is so I can go get some more? They were like, we don't know. It's excess. But it was a very unique fabric that actually like made it possible for us to have like something that drapes and is waterproof, which is very rare. And actually, I can't even say where it comes from. But I was glad to find it. We didn't have any more. Now I needed to reverse engineer the fabric, and I found out I need to go to China to do that, and that was going to cost $25,000 to get that done, and then to get my initial production run, because mind you, with the Kickstarter campaign, I was paying almost $30 per unit. So now I needed to find a manufacturer who could do it at cost so people can pay the cost that, you know, they were willing to pay. And so, yeah, that's when I said I got to get angels. And that's how that journey started.
What month was that? What month was that? So you got, I need to fundraise.
That was like August. So we launched in November. We did the Kickstarter. March, I think it ended. We spent the summer refining it. And then by August, I was like, well, we fixed it, but I don't even know how to make this fabric. I don't know how I'm going to get my first production run. I got to get angels at this point.
And this is August 2017. 2017. Yep. Okay. When did you actually get your first check from investors or angels?
Yeah, it's like November of 2017.
Oh, so you got it within like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Ooh, how'd you do that?
So I kind of looked around my immediate network. My parents knew Nathaniel Bronner of the Bronner Brothers.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, somebody who's ready to like, he cares about legacy. Maybe he'll take a chance on me. It's kind of in hair, but not competitive. Let me go to him. He was like, no, I don't do, angel investments. I've been burned too many times. He's like 90-something% of companies fail. And here's how you, and I was like, I had to, lying, he wasn't at all. And I was like, I said, I think you're supposed to take a bet on me. And we went into this email exchange. I mean, I could write a book off of our email exchanges. They were great. But he was like, and he always goes off the wisdom. Like if he feels something, he's like, I'm supposed to take a chance on you. So he did. $10,000, but 10%. Huge. Like I look back on that and I'm like, oh, he came out very, very well.
10% equity?
Yeah. That's how it is. But here's the thing. It was worth it, one, because he had the experience. He also promised some other things that were like in a side letter that he would be able to do as an investor.
Okay.
And he was my anchor. I was able to go to others and like, well, the Bronner Brothers are invested, right? So now that allowed me to have other conversations where people were like, okay. He was kind of like that lead, so to speak, that allowed me to have
it wasn't about the money, it was about the connection and the
Absolutely.
network.
Yep.
That's true.
And he could continue to fund if he saw traction. So that's another thing. I wanted somebody that could go back to and be like, all right, here's what we need, which I did when we launched our first marketing campaign, which was almost 2 years later. So that process of getting the angels, getting the reverse engineering the fabric, getting our first production run took like over a year and a half to get done. And then I went back to him and he was like, okay, you're ready. So I'm going to give you another $25,000, I think it was, to launch our first marketing campaign where we really start to see like real
awesome.
traction.
Did he require more equity at that point or no?
No, he actually did that one as a loan.
Wonderful.
So, which is great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So now what year is this? You're ready to actually like launch and sell?
2019.
Ooh, so you was 3 years.
Yeah, those 2 years before, again, I wasn't making enough off of each sale, so I couldn't even push the sales. It was like, well, if people get it, great, but I'm not really able to buy this kind of inventory, this cost, I've got to get the situation overseas taken care of so that we can actually produce at scale.
Tracey, this is why I love you so much, because you retain a significant portion of equity in your company, but it's because people don't see that 3 years where you were like, I was figuring it out, and going to great lengths, like going to China and giving up 10% for 10K, but it turned into 35K and all these other things. And I'm like, most people don't have that level of conviction or commitment to anything.
Oh yeah, when I look back on it, I'm like, that must have been some other power that was saying, girl, you're supposed to stick with this, because I even think about how I could have just gone back to work. But yeah, and I actually picked up a couple of other angels at the same time. So like after Bronner, then came Jewel. And I didn't even ask her, but she could tell. She was like, you need more money, don't you? I'm like, yes, please.
Thank you, Jewel.
Right, Jewel.
Right.
Ron
cheers
Love.
to Jewel.
Yes, cheers to Jewel. Big
there
time,
we go.
man. She bailed me out. And so yeah, that I picked up 4 other angels. One was like a coworker from my former job. All in, if you look at all the angels, that was about $72K over the course of those 2 years.
Okay.
They just kind of kept me going, and it wasn't any excess. It was like, all right, now we got to buy this fabric. Now I got to actually, change the pattern and get somebody to make these tech packs. So it was all of that piecemeal across those 2 years. And then we finally arrived in 2019 where it's like, all right, let's do a marketing campaign and see if this thing can really fly. But everybody took a chance when I was doing $20,000 a year, $22,000 the next year. It's like, I call it the cricket era, when you heard all the crickets in your Shopify account.
When you left the money thing cha-ching on because you were so excited to hear it sell. That's when
to this day, I haven't even turned it off, because I'm like, I just need to just be thankful that I hear this thing.
Girl, you
every
cut
few
that
minutes,
thing off in your meetings. You know what's so funny? I look back and I be like, there's some stuff that Kim 1.0 would do that Kim 3.0 ain't never doing.
Listen.
Taking my baby to work with me every day at 2 months old?
Yeah. We did all the things. I was packing out of my garage. Like, I remember the first time we actually left my garage, the HOA was like calling me like, you cannot back up trucks to your garage, girl. Like, you need to.
The LTL need to drop off right here,
right,
okay?
Yeah, they had like boxes stacked up. I'm sure they thought I was moving weight or something. They were like, what in the world is going on with this girl?
Where is your pallet jack?
Right.
Your motorized, don't worry about that. I got muscles.
Yes, it was quite a time for sure.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're all in. So how much did you get from those angels?
That was the $72K.
72K. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got the one something from the house. We got the 75 that we saved. We got 10 from Bronner. Then we got another like 60, 70 or so. Mm-hmm. And so now we're like, it took us to fund a patented product, a new invention. You know what I mean? Something that does not exist in the world, which is pretty incredible. Most people are throwing up e-commerce sites, reselling things that they just bought in China. They had no original innovation behind. You know what I mean?
So, I picked the heart. Long way.
Yeah. So what people are doing today, people are raising $1 million on this idea, and then they going to build it.
Yeah, but I think it makes you scrappy. I actually appreciate. I can say this now, but like if I had been given a ton of money in the beginning, I am pretty sure I would have squandered it. And I think what you have in the beginning is like, get it off the ground money, then you get your learning money, and then you have to turn it into leverage money. But if you don't really learn like you need to learn,
say it again.
You get it off the ground money, and then you get your learning money. This is the money it takes for you to figure out how your business is going to work and how all the pieces are going to fit together. But then you have to have leverage money, meaning you know how to flip that cash. And if you don't master those first 2 phases, like the solid product market fit, learning how the metrics work, what's going to be your CAC, what are those things that you're going to have to kind of put in to make sure that this is viable at scale, then the leverage money. Because if you mess up before that, nobody's going to trust you with the leverage money.
Man, Tracey, that was a bar. Yeah. So Tracey's the friend I go to when I want to know, like, yo, I'm doing this and I'm kind of ashamed of it, but I feel like you know the answer. Like, you're really good with, what is it, MER? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
The MER, and she's like, I'm like, marketing, efficiency ratio. She's like, kind of wrong. What does it stand for again?
Marketing efficiency ratio.
I think I said I had the wrong R before. Okay. But anyway, Tracey be keeping me together. You know what I mean?
I'm like, I'm the analytical mind. You're the creative. Let's go get it. Let's blow it up mind. Like, you keep me from being too risk averse, which I appreciate. I think it's a balance.
It's a balance.
Sure.
I'm the friend who be burning money, and you're the friend that be saving money. And
you don't want me blowing up your brand. I'm the one over here playing it safe. But listen, we make a good balance.
I live a risky life, okay? I live a risky life.
I love it.
So, all right. So we launched. We finally can do a marketing campaign. This is 2019. Okay. So then what? So you when is the next check that comes after that? Like, what did you get to in sales? Like, yeah.
So we did. I had one investor that I just asked, like, invest $2,000, but I'm gonna get $8,000 worth of value from you teaching me Facebook ads. So I went to his office down in Jonesboro a few times, 8-hour days, figuring that out. Grew to 329K, kind of the last 4 months of that year, which was great. Then the next bit of money came from Collab Capital. So at the point that I started getting that traction, I was getting to $30,000-$40,000 a month in sales. And then I got a call from Good Morning America to come for their Women's History Month, right before the pandemic hit. And I had been having a conversation with Collab Capital. They were like, your model works for us. They have a space model where you can do a profit share or you can do equity, which was a novel thing. And so I was having that conversation, got the call. They rushed the investment. I got $500,000 March of 2020. But it was really because that last year I started to see real numbers. We were seeing a CAC of $12. Oh, I miss the days.
The days.
Yes, I mean, and it was great. So that way, you have to show investors that. Like, I had the angels believe in you before you get the real traction, but then you got to kind of show and prove, and they were able to justify getting me $500,000 to really grow tremendously in that year. So we did 2.2 million 2020, but 329 the year before, which was a big jump for us, and because we got that capital in.
And how much have you raised, like, in total?
1.5 equity and another 1.2 in debt and kind of secondary sale.
You've come so far with so little capital. Like, people hear, like, $1 million this, $1 million that, but they don't understand that, like, it's like, that's like nothing. Like, when it comes to funding your business, and you're like talking venture, you're talking people like Away, who raised $100+ million. We're talking about, and I'm talking about Away, like the suitcase. So we're talking about, what was the Purple mattress company? They had like
Purple. I think it is.
Purple, yeah. What they raised, like hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So when we be like making it work, we be like on $1 or $2 million, like rubbing two nickels together.
Yes, literally. And I mean, even some of I used to watch Shark Tank, and people were like, oh, we did $10 million sales. Like, how much you make on that? Nothing. And then how much you raised? Like $6 million. Like, you raised $6 million. You made 10. Like, how does that make sense? But you were able to burn so much. Like, you basically bought your growth.
Yes.
You didn't really generate that growth.
Yes.
Right? So.
And it's so crazy because, like, they will expect us to have, why aren't you growing faster?
Yeah.
Well, I have more money. Like, if I had more money, I would be growing faster.
I was asked by one of, and I'm not going to mention her name, one of the biggest CEOs today, right? And she asked me that exact question. Now, mind you, she just hit $1 billion valuation. Awesome. But she had raised like 80 million and is about to raise another 40, right? But she only like kind of 2x her capital in revenue the previous year.
Exactly.
And I'm like, so if I 3x my capital and I had the same amount, I'd be bigger than you possibly. But you're asking me about growing faster when you have, and you also have a really big influencer behind you. So I hope I'm not giving too many clues. But that was really kind of disheartening to hear, because I'm like, I could have raised more. I could have tried to grow faster, but I was also in my learning phase too, and I knew that.
Yeah.
So I was okay with raising less, being able to leverage it. And now I have more offers for capital that won't even require equity. I can do debt funding now. I can do growth financing now that I couldn't do before, but that was because I didn't necessarily like push all of the revenue into vanity metrics just to be able to kind of get to this point.
No.
You are growing a real business though. Like, I think the people that do that, they're like creating these headlines, but they don't have a real community. They're not solving a real problem in the market. They're kind of the cool thing for Instagram today, or the cool thing in comparison to Fashion Nova or whatever. It's like, is that really the lasting brand? Is that what the Procter & Gamble's really kind of built their following off of? That's not the type of model I was going after.
And you know what's really interesting to me? We have to work so hard for the little money that we get, and we never get it all together. Yeah, and if you don't get all the money at once, and you have to do a little bit here and then a little bit there, it's like I can never do the thing, right? Like, I can never do the big retail order because you only gave me half the capital. So I have to ask for a smaller amount, or I'm not able to hire people I need to hire. That would have made me more money yesterday because I have to, I got to space out what I can hire. It's so exhausting.
The really bad thing too is you have to mash the gas, mash the brakes. Mash the gas. Like, if I had gotten $1 million, say in 2020, right, it would have been crazy. But I also, and this is no knock to any VC, because I think for a lot of our community, it's the first time that they're writing $1 million checks potentially, right? Yeah. But there was not an understanding of what scaling an e-commerce business would look like. So there were points where they were like, oh, we don't know if you need more cash right now because why are you running out? Whereas later stage VCs that I talked to later, they're like, why didn't they give you another $1 million? Oh my God, look at your, so you know what I mean? But we didn't understand that. And if you don't have investors, which is important, I think, to have investors that have a background in the type of business that you want to scale, so that they could tell you like, hey, you may think you're failing, but actually you got metrics better than some of these top other e-commerce businesses.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So Tracey, we need to launch a fund after we,
that's what's happening.
I mean, you need to work together. Okay. I have a question. Yeah. What is an unpopular opinion you have about venture funding, entrepreneurship? You pick.
Unpopular opinion. This is where I think we debate. Sometimes. I believe in raising enough until you can leverage it for profitable growth. I find, and one of the mistakes I feel like I made, I raised, and a lot of that was spent on inventory, right? A lot of that was spent on the learning phase, which was necessary. But I also feel like I'm kind of glad I didn't. I'm glad I went slower because I know now that what I bring in capital, I know exactly what it's going to turn into. I can forecast it for 2 years out. I know what the return is going to be. I know what my ops are going to be at that level. So I feel better about it. And I feel like because a lot of the bets we have, like meaning VCs taking bets on us, is a rare thing. And it's like, if we don't show improve on it, it's going to be kind of not good for the next group that needs to get that capital. And for my VCs, Arian and Jewel, like they need to be able to say, look, when we invest in a Tracey, this is what happens. So I guess my unpopular opinion is I do think there's value in getting more money sooner. But unless and I feel like you're also one of the ones that's super in the weeds like me, whereas you really understand your business. A lot of folks, I am like this because I had to be. Because if I didn't know my numbers, I was going to die. Basically, the business was going to die. Yeah. So I do think it's important that you get to a point where you're so sure about the return you can get, so that when you get to those phases, you're able to really leverage the capital and not kind of blow the opportunity to get the capital and then feel like, oh, now my board, I work for my board now, or now, I can't necessarily grow like I want to because I haven't figured all those things out before I got the capital.
Yeah, we definitely have different philosophies. I definitely just be like, raise revenue, figure, until you get to that, whatever that event is, IPO or selling or whatever that might be. But cool.
But also, I think it depends on what the outcome is that you want, right? Yeah. Like you want to engage your community, you want to build a really big business. Yeah. And you even asked me, you're like, Tracey, how many more years do you have in you? I was like, 5, 7. You were like, okay, well, that's good. That's why you can go a little slower. I have this much time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the outcome I want for my investors. Here's where so that influences why you do need to go big. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
And you might feel like this is the same thing, but any myths, things that people tell you, everybody else believes? I mean, I know unpopular opinion is unpopular, but like, sometimes it's a myth. You're like, no, this is a fact. That is not true. People are wrong, and it's not an opinion.
I think that the people think it's a myth that if you raise a lot of VC capital that you really do like lose control of your business. I think people hear that and it goes in one ear and out the other. It's like, you really do. You really can. They can fire you. That's not just in the, later phases of some big tech company. Like that can happen now. And I think it's, I think that's the myth. Like the fiduciary duty you have towards a board, the things that you have to now become, right, in terms of how you manage really does change the more that you raise, and people think it's all good. They also think that you have liquid cash. Like they think you're rich if you raise 10 million. No. In fact, I have more of an obligation now to be lean and make sure they get their return. So it's those things I think are, get over people's head. And I'm like, no, you have to know that. And you have to know what kind of business you want to run. If you don't want to run that kind of business, don't raise a ton of capital.
Yeah. Okay. Tracey, is there anything you want to leave the people with? Any advice, something that's on your heart, a testimony? No, I'm kidding.
I'm super glad you are doing this because I feel like I wish I had you early on, and I'm grateful to have you now because there have been so many. I've called Kim at a midnight hour and been like, girl, I don't know about tomorrow. And so I appreciate you.
And what I'd be like, girl, me neither. No, you like, we both broke. We just on different ends, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I want people to know that this is not a cakewalk, but it's a worthwhile journey. And I think the fact that we are doing something that hasn't been done before, building brands that are at a national level, like that's so important. And so thank you to you. Right. And for anybody that has a product idea, if you have something on your heart that you feel like you're supposed to bring to the world, please know that it is possible to do it. I get asked so many times like, oh, well, it's only because of this that you got this done, or only because of this that you knew Jewel and got investment. I feel like if you get started and do all you can, you will literally have the people show up on the journey. I had none of this figured out. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't know how to do marketing. I didn't know none of this stuff. But I feel like the people that were necessary to come on the journey showed up when I decided I was going after it. So I just encourage anybody that if that's on your heart to do, go for it. It can happen. And even when it looks grim, we figure it out, don't we, Kim? We figure it out.
Okay. Tell the people where they can find you, Tracey.
Yeah, so you can find me at Tracey Pickett ESQ on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. And of course, at Hairbrella on all the platforms.
Cheers.
Cheers, friends.
More rounds.
All
right, you guys. Thank you for watching More Rounds with Kim Lewis. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.